Kane, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay, doing as good as I can the day after your own funeral, but I got a good attitude. I'm happy. So it's good to talk to you.
I mean, it must be like, you made the jury though, you made the merger. So it must be like, when you find a treasure chest and you avoid that poison dart, but when you open the chest, all there is that dagger inside. Does it kind of feel like that?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I think that it's bittersweet. I'm filled with
Yeah.
gratitude, but it's, for me, it's like my character is dead, but I'm still in the campaign. Like I get to come back and they're like, okay, now you get to write what Jury Kane is, what's his class, how grumpy is he. So yeah, I definitely still have life in this game. I got a lot of gratitude for the season. But 'twas a dagger for sure.
Now it seemed like maybe this is just my perception, but it seemed like throughout the game you're playing with a shield and you didn't really have a sword. I mean, you really didn't have a lot of the numbers with you. Did it feel like you were playing from the bottom a lot of the time? And how'd you deal with that?
Yeah, I had a very interesting run because I felt like I was playing from the bottom in the game that I wanted to play, but I was
Right.
also part of the majority alliance for most of the game. So I'm like, well, what's even happening here? This doesn't make sense. Because like from the very start, very good strategic relationship with Maddie. She gets plucked away, and nobody really knew that we were working together. So I was kind of like, Maddie who? Like we had a sixth person on our squad. That's so crazy. And then I started working close with Matthew, and then he has to leave the game for his shoulder, right? And then all these different things start going. I start working good with Matt, and then I have to just quietly watch him leave the game. So there was a lot of things that I agree with you. I didn't quite have the opportunity to strike and stab, and I was still sitting there jittering with my shield, but I couldn't quite pull it off. So that is kind of how I feel like it went down as well.
Now, last week, we saw that Brandon got voted out. Was there any concern amongst the members of your tribe that I think everybody's kind of ganging up against us here? Did you get or did they manage to like make it seem to you like, well, no, you're still part of it. We just wanted to get him out because he was a big threat. How did that go down?
Yeah, it was well masked. So towards the end of travel, I thought for sure that Aratu could be on the chopping block. But as far as when we came back from
Yeah.
Brandon's vote, Jam and Carson had masked their vote. They had voted Franny with us. So the narrative that they were pitching was that basically we didn't split the vote and what are we doing? And you got to remember that Carson was the adopted child of Ratu for a long time. We
Right.
raised him, we taught him how to ride a bike, and so we had a lot of trust flowing through Carson. So from our perspective, we still had Tika. We knew that they were kind of playing the middle because we knew that Carolyn had voted for Brandon. So,
Right.
we had some trust issues, but we very much thought that they were an extension. And Danny on the other side, he was communicating and working with Brandon. So that was basically our signal that, Danny doesn't care. Like he will burn the bridges he wants. And so we're not going to put trust in that. So it kind of put Ratu in an interesting position, where like positionally I felt the autonomy slipping for sure.
Now, knowing all that, you go into this immunity challenge, and you're one of the people that decides to sit out. So, how did that all play out? Why were you convinced that, hey, you know what, I don't need to go for this. I can sit out. What was the things that really um, factored into your decision not to play?
Yeah. For me, whenever I would watch those rice negotiations previously, I was always like, only one person wins immunity, which means that eight other people are going to eventually sit out. And if nobody sits out for rice, we just don't get rice, and still only one person wins immunity. So it's always a risk assessment for me. And I walked up to that challenge. It was pouring rain. I saw a balance based challenge. I was like, oh, great.
Right.
My best friend balancing on one foot. How I love doing that for long periods of time in the rain. So for me, it was risk assessment. And I wasn't going to be the first one to volunteer, but when I thought that we sort of had the numbers to tip to rice, it made more sense. So, do I wish I would have played? Yes, because who knows? Maybe I do pull
Right.
it off. But I think I would have adjusted my risk analysis to be like, even if there's like a 5% chance, just try it. And if you don't get it, who cares? But yeah, like I mean, I don't think I would have won that. So it's not like my grave miscalculation. And I knew that no one cared that we sat out in terms of getting a pass on voted. So yeah, wasn't too worried, but
And
is
did
what
you
it is.
put it? Did you put any stock in what Danny was saying? Like, hey, bro, don't worry, I'm not going to vote for you.
No, and like literally not at all. It was it wasn't part of my math at all. Like maybe some players would be a little more hesitant, but that really wasn't the game we were playing out there. Like
Right.
everybody from that time was thinking about their own games, was trying to build the end game that they wanted to already, right? So I knew no one was going to give me a pass just because I gave them a quarter bag of rice. And Danny specifically had like literally just betrayed me. So I was like, yeah, I don't really, this doesn't mean too much to me.
Right.
But and he's not a scout either, apparently, which blew me away. So
Well, you made the merger, and then you also made the jury. You didn't win the game, but you must have been glad representing Canada because you did finish very well.
yeah, no, I'm happy for the game that I played. I think that a lot of my tinkin wasn't shown because a lot of my plans didn't work because, like you said, my hands were kind of tied the whole
Yeah.
time. But I'm super proud. I'd love to represent Canada, be a representative of Saskatchewan and Canada, and I played my heart out and didn't quite get the hat trick, but did as much as I could.
Now I have to ask. I mean, have the Rough Riders contacted you about singing the national anthem? Have there been any offers on the table?
Yeah, the Rough Riders said they needed to hear it first, and then they would approve it.
How did you feel, Kate, about leaving the game with JD's idol in your pocket? And when did you find out that it was a phony one later on? Because you kind of dodged that bullet too.
Oh, I know. The only thing that would have made the funeral worse is if I had gone up, played a fake idol, walk of shame back, and then got voted out. I would have been like, what is like why? But yeah, no, the thing is that like that fake idol, I mean, like Josh's fake idol, Jam literally ripped into shreds, But it was a good fake idol. I'll give Matthew daps on that. And
Right.
the rumors out there were that this was real. There was no reason to believe it wasn't. So I thought
Right.
it was real. I looked to Jamie for the cue because that was very much a Rad 2 idol in my eyes. And she didn't want to play it, so we didn't play it and ended up being a good thing. But no one on the jury knew either. So it was a very long time before anybody actually figured out that it was fake. Everyone thought it was real.
Yeah. Now, I asked this of all the castaways that I speak to over the years, but obviously we only get to see, a small portion of what goes on the island. They can only fit so much into every show. So, based on your journey, whether it was a moment or a strategy or a move that you made, what do you wish from your journey that people would have been able to see on the show? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think that the thing that was interesting about my game this season is I do think that I like influenced votes, was in a good position. I think that I
Right.
had a well thought out strategy. I'm a very methodical player.
Right.
And so I think that I had a lot of thought process that I wish would have hit screen, but then none of my freaking plans work because everybody's throwing idols or getting medevac with their shoulders. Like, what are you guys doing out here? So I think that I would have liked people to see my thought process on the show and why I made certain decisions I made.
Right.
But that's how it goes. I think too, like Ratu really was bonded. Like when we went on our winning streak, like there was no reason for me to not work with Ratu. And there was a lot of like moments on that
Right.
beach early that we didn't get to see because we just kept freaking winning,
Now it seemed to us that there was some chaos at tribal council last night, and then you kind of sparked a bit of that. Tell us about how you did that, and then did it make you, after everything settled down, did you feel any better about your position?
Uh yeah, I did start that. And I think that when you're in tribal council, Jeff's asking you questions and you have at any time an opportunity to just disrupt it. And I had a plan out there with everyone who was sitting down. I had a
Yeah.
plan with all the Sokas that they were pointing at Tika. I had a plan with all the Tikas that they were pointing at Danny, yada, yada, yada. And so I basically just didn't feel good that these things were actually happening because the
Right.
other thing that happened was everything leaked. Like everybody knew every plan. And I was so tired of that because I was like, how do you want me to make plans out here if by the time I get majority numbers, everybody knows about it? Like Jeff already knows the plan. So that was the issue. And so that's why I started checking in with people to just see where they were pointing to, trying to
Right.
actually talk and try and get people to see what plan they were actually following and see if I could make them slip, try and find some inconsistencies there. But then the conversations I had, people were very consistent. in what was actually going on.
Yeah.
Specifically, the Tikas played it very well, and I was reassured by multiple people that what the target was and that it wasn't me. And so, unfortunately, my left travel didn't work. In better circumstances, I could have disrupted the vote, but didn't go down like that.
Just a couple more questions for you. How did you find, you sat there and seen the show and watched the series and watched the game. What surprised you the most out there about the game?
I think that the thing that a lot of people don't appreciate is like the layers that go into these votes. Like they
Right,
they really do show just like a fraction, and Survivor does do good at showing the strategy that you need to
right,
see for the plan that actually worked. But
right.
usually that plan's like 5 plans deep because there's usually about 3.5 plans before that like were decoys or didn't work or somebody changed something or you learn new stuff. So every single time you go to a vote, it's never just like, should we put it all on this person?
Right.
Yes, I agree. Okay, see you at Final Tribal. It's very much like, oh my God, like this has changed, that has changed, that has changed. So that on the strategic front was something that I had to try and adjust to. And then also, I say this all the time, is that the rain, like
Oh, right.
the like of all the things, like you can prepare to survive with no food, like you can make it work, and I can sleep on the ground, but just getting
Yeah.
like hammered by Fiji rains is an insane experience.
Was that worse than a Canadian snowstorm?
Yeah, well, I mean, in Canadian snowstorm, you instantly die because it's so cold, so probably not. But it was pretty bad. At least I had nowhere to go, so I'll call it even.
Now, final question. You are a member of the jury and you get to have a say in who wins the season. What, obviously you can't tell us who you voted for, but what were some of the attributes or things that were going through your mind when you're deciding on on a person who was going to win the season? What are some of those attributes that you mulled over?
Yeah, I enjoy methodical players, and I want players who are moving with intention. And so
Right,
I didn't need like flashy plays. I didn't need like I would never vote for someone just because I like them. I really wanted to try and deduce while I'm on the jury, who is in control of this game, who
right.
is moving with intention. And it doesn't necessarily need to mean that they're leading every vote, but that they're aware of what they're doing. So those are sort of the main criterions that I voted for. Like I would never vote for somebody for a specific event. I
Right.
would always be focused on the whole game you played. How well can you show me that you moved from 18 players down to 3 with intention through this game, and like how well you did it?
Well, Kane, thanks very much for taking the time out to talk to us today. Really appreciate watching on the show. I think you did Canada proud. I mean, again, you made the jury, you made the merge. That's something to really be proud of, and can't wait to see you on the finale and what goes down there.
I appreciate that, John. Good talk to you. Thanks.